Good morning and welcome in. It is SimWorld. Today is June 3rd on this run to one Monday. No, we don't got games coming up but tonight, but they are on the horizon. Good morning as I welcome in B-Ron, our co-host this fine day. Good morning, B-Ron. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, Marsh. Good to be here with you on Monday. We are getting close to all sorts of basketball. Here we got the SWU finals coming up on Thursday, and then run to one also starting Thursday too. So let's jump into it.
Well, it's pertinent that you'd say the SWBA. Let's jump in right there. We haven't chatted since all of that kind of became finalized, B-Ron. So I'm curious your thoughts on this matchup and if the Celtics will have the type of defense necessary to take down a Dallas team that just torched the number one defense in the entire league.
So honestly, I'm very excited about the matchup overall. A lot of stories coming in this one. I know you and Rick talked about it earlier on. Was it Thursday, leading
Hmm.
up to today? But I do think that Boston's defense has the ability to keep up the the Mavericks offense. I think they do. I like Drew Holiday. I like what he does a lot on the defense side of the ball. And I feel like in some respects their ability to alter shots, make life difficult. You can see it here, some of the clips we're showing here. I think that a lot of that, if they can do this well, anyway, to both Kyrie and Luka, I think that's gonna be the real challenge. Is how they balance defending those two players. I think that's going to be the deciding factor for the series overall in terms of on the defense side of the ball. So I do think yes, they do.
My concern with them is I don't know that they have the size to guard Luka Doncic. Because yes, Drew Holiday is a good defender. Yes, Derek White's a good defender. Jaylen Brown is okay. I don't know that he's great. Jason Tatum is fine. But the problem I think they're going to run into here is that Luka, his size advantage was so obvious because it's not like the Timberwolves didn't have good defenders. And in fact, they had great defenders. They had the Defensive Player of the Year, which I've said I think is kind of a sham. But the this team, that is my concern, is that I don't know that if this team goes into a pick and roll, one, they're going to use Al Horford in the pick and roll every darn chance they can. And we're going to
Yes.
see how much that 39-year-old can actually keep up. You can make the case that the slower game is going to benefit him, but I don't know that he's going to be able to physically match Luka. And then if Porzingis is playing, how's that calf doing? Because he's going to get engaged in the pick and roll. And I don't know that, yes, despite Drew Holiday being a great defender, Jaden Daniels is a great defender too, but he doesn't have the physical girth to defend Luka, and that's what we've seen has been to Luka's advantage. So I think they've got on paper they've got guys that you really like, but if I'm Dallas, I'm feeling pretty good. I just took down Minnesota, who again had the number one ranked defense in the regular season. Now, the Mavericks had the number one ranked defense after the trade deadline, after they acquired Gafford and after they acquired Washington. I think it's more so, does Boston have the offense to keep up? Do they have the ability to be consistent on the offensive end? I don't know that they've been that this postseason against opponents that were kind of mediocre.
Yeah, yeah. I think you make a great point there, especially because we know that Jason Tatum in particular can be kind of waffly in terms of production in the playoffs, that kind of stuff. I think that's been a story to talk about for a while too. And now that we're here, there's all sorts of things we talk about leading up to Thursday and how the game's going to go. And I feel like we are going to go through a lot of these various different topics throughout the week. But I do think that the offensive side of the ball for Boston is one to look at as well, because again, I think for me, the big concern is Jason Tatum. If he can be on for the entire game throughout the course of the series, that'll be great for Boston. But if he's not, that's going to be a problem, especially when you're talking about a team that has two stars in Kyrie and Luka going up against a team that also has two stars in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So we'll see. I
Yep.
don't know, man.
This is going to be a impactful series for the Jason Tatum stans and haters to say, is Tatum the star that we think that some folks think he is, or is he the not a star that many others think he is? as well. Let's head over to SimWorld Prep, where we have a pair of breaking news items. We're going to start with the first commitment of the week, and that is going to be Latin America's Red Jointer headed to Baylor. B-Ron, a big addition for the Baylor Bears. Jointner's been on a tear at the end of this regular season for Latin America. He's made them a spunky little team as we approach the run to one.
Yeah, he really, really had. I am very pleased to see his play pick up the way it has during the final stretch of the regular season for SimWorld Latin America here. I think that I don't think when he came on the team, we were expecting a lot of this from him. Because, at the time they had JMO and two other kids that were there, kind of taking a lot of the brunt of the offensive production there. But when you can turn it around and have a great second half of the season, that's only gonna do you wonders for your college productions, and it did it here for Jointer, and he's gonna go to Baylor. I'm excited to see what he can do with that Baylor team, adding himself to a team that has Tristan Holmes, Deshaun Jameson, and Wilson Ngoma.
Yeah, my lone concern with Jointner's really just been his efficiency. I mean, he's shooting 38% on the season and 20% from deep, so he's just really been a high volume stat stuffer. And at the same time, 5.6 assists, so he's clearly used to having the ball in his hands. So I'm very curious to see what Jointner looks like at the next level when he's not being asked to be the single creator, which he is for Latin America. But I think he's got the intangibles of being able, and I think we've seen a lot of this in like a Royce Anderson, where big scoring numbers but low efficiency, and that's since stabilized since they got Bevins and Patches more involved, and Anderson's just been less shots, still the same scoring stats, maybe a point or two lower, but he's been more efficient. Jointner's, though, he's got the size, 6'5", so he can play any of the two guard positions. You can stretch him up to the wing. At the next level, that's what scouts are going to start looking at. But no, this is a huge benefit of how you develop yourself, and a late push for Jointner is what gets him ultimately here onto the Baylor Bears. I think he quite literally changed his trajectory over the past 2 months from being maybe a mid-major type of guy all the way up to be playing for Baylor in a Power 5 conference, or Power 4, Power 5 conference. So all of that is good things for Red Jointner without a doubt in mind. Let's head over to more breaking news, where we now have the SimWorld All Defense team announced. A huge track of stars coming in here. It's Gabe Pope. We'll run this thing on the screen now for you. Gabe Pope, Josiah Cook, Isaiah James, Orland Mock III, and Orion Toomey. That 5 named to the SimWorld Season 2 All Defensive team. B-Ron, your thoughts?
So I'm not surprised at this list of players who made the team. I know there was a lot of talk about, certain players who couldn't make it, certain players who were, close or on the fringe, or who gets snubbed, all that kind of stuff. And I think Isaiah James was one of those players who I think was left off this list when we were talking about this in the past couple of weeks. Somewhere y'all is smiling. We're talking a lot about defense today. This is a really good defensive team. I'm very happy with the results of this, especially for a guy like Orion Toomey, who kind of burst onto the scene and came out of nowhere this season with the defensive play. I love to see these kind of kids kind of nowhere and make their mark on the defensive end of things.
Yeah, Mock had a tough night against the originators, but I think overall, this is a good group. No question about it. I'm always a proponent of when we recognize the defensive play from guards. So Pope, James, and Mock getting on this list, I think, is a huge addition for that squad. But overall, I don't have any big concerns with this squad. It's a good one. and it's a talented group, and congratulations to all 5 recipients for making the all defensive team. I think that we're going to see some continued announcements here. We saw the all engagement teams announced over the weekend. As we approach the run to one, I think we're going to have some more all anything teams announced
Yeah.
here in the coming days as well. Anything that you're looking out for on that front, B-Ron?
So I know we have a lot of things to get through in terms of announcements. I'm really interested once we get to it anyway to see who the player of the year, who the coach of the year are, because I know those are two of the bigger awards, and those are all hot topics. You know what I mean? So I feel like especially coach of the year. There's so many different avenues you could go with that for that one in terms of stories and all that stuff. But if player of the year goes to the best player on the best team, then by that logic, coach of the year is the same kind of award. If that's how you want to say it. Do I agree with that? No, I don't. But that's what I feel like is going to happen. So I feel like it's going to be Coach Dodge winning the award. Does she deserve it? Sure, but she's not my pick. I know we're getting off topic here, but that's my interesting kind of thing that I'm looking forward to heading into this whole award race being finalized and that kind of stuff. What about you, Marsh?
Well, to that point, I think you're right. That's not how it should go. I think it doesn't necessarily go that way, just because player of the year, the best player typically does influence the best team's winning and losing record. And I'm not saying coach of the year doesn't, but as I've been on the Coach Kusa train for
Me
months
and you
now,
both, man.
like that's actually you can impact the game a lot more in from a bad team, not a bad team, but for a mediocre good team as a coach than as a player. But you're right. It's a difficult conundrum. I think we as a basketball watching society have kind of pendulumed back and forth. Coach of the year still seems kind of regressive in some instances. It doesn't quite capture all of the success of middle of the pack teams, but I think that could be said the same for the MVP, or player of the year in this case. But I think like the Russell Westbrook one kind of
Yeah.
opened our eyes to why that really shouldn't be the case. But anyhow, I am just looking forward to that debate being over,
Yeah,
just to
yeah,
have it not
and
be
and
existing anymore.
it's funny you mentioned the Russell Westbrook one because that's one for me that kind of inspires a little bit of my personal decision making when it comes to player of the year and that kind of stuff. When Russell was putting together those triple doubles and all through the season, all that kind of stuff, I'm like, man, he may not have been on the best team. I can't recall the record for the Thunder those either. I don't
46
think they.
wins,
Yeah, I don't think they were good. So like,
6 seed.
yeah, that's the kind of thing that says, hey, this is a player of the year candidate. Uh,
Hmm.
Vet Towns, if you want to talk about a player who's impacted a team and who wouldn't be the same without a team, I'm looking at Vet Towns personally. There's still time to make decisions and that kind of stuff, obviously, but yeah, I'm tired of talking about it too, Marsh. There's only so many ways we can have the conversation. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, that's a conversation for another day. That is our show. No SimWorld Prep wrap up because we didn't have any SimWorld Prep games, but we will be back tomorrow morning talking more in the lead up to the Run to One, which again starts this Thursday, June 6th, only on SimWorld TV. B-Ron, thanks for joining us. Thank you all for coming on in and watching the show. We will see you tomorrow morning here on SimWorld TV, the only place you can see the game, be the game.
This has been a presentation of SimWorld Sport.